The commentary on Isaiah Part 10, F02310, concerning chapters 39 to 42. Beginning in chapter 39 at verse 1. At that time, Merodach-Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent envoys with letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he heard that he had been sick and had recovered. And Hezekiah welcomed them, and he showed them his treasure house, the silver, the gold, the spices, the precious oil, his whole armory, all that was found in his storehouses. There was nothing in his house or in all his realms that Hezekiah did not show them. Then Isaiah the prophet came to King Hezekiah and said to him, "What did these men say, and whence did they come?" And Hezekiah said, "They have come to me from a far country, from Babylon." And he said, "What have they seen in your house?" Hezekiah answered, "They have seen all that is in my house. There is nothing in my storehouses that I did not show them." Then Isaiah said to Hezekiah, "Hear the word of the Lord of hosts. Behold, the days are coming when all that is in your house, and that which your fathers have stored up till this day, shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. And some of your own sons who are born to you shall be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon." Then said Hezekiah to Isaiah, "The word of the Lord which you have spoken is good." For he thought, "There will be peace and security in my days. And turn to chapter 39, Merodach-Baladan's embassy. Covered also in Messianic prophecies through Isaiah to Hezekiah, number 157d. Isaiah continues with the matters of the further captivity of Judah to Babylon. When the prophecy of Isaiah 39 was given, the sons referred to in verse 7 had not yet been born. Manasseh was born in the third of the added 15 years of Hezekiah. This is the reason for the text in the Song of Degrees in Psalm 127, 3-5, following on from Hezekiah's Song of Degrees in Psalm 126, and the reference in Psalm 128, verses 5-6, to the comment by Hezekiah to Isaiah in 39:8. Hezekiah's submission to the will of God was as Eli's in 1 Samuel 3:18, compare 2 Kings 20 verses 12-19, Job 1:21 and 2:10, James 5:10-11. Verses 1-8. Thus it was revealed that God's purpose was to send them to Babylon into captivity, and from there they would be restored, and the virgin daughter of Zion would go forth from Jerusalem in due time. The details of the captivity are covered in the paper Fall of Jerusalem to Babylon, number 250b. The reign of Hezekiah was not over a jubilee at any part of it, or even near a jubilee. Jerusalem was not captured, nor was it ever again besieged during his reign. Judah remained intact and safe. This prophecy and sign was never fulfilled in his lifetime. The Assyrians were sent back home so that the sign given to him could be fulfilled under Messiah many centuries later. That is why Messiah could not commence his ministry before 28 CE, nor after it. What he was doing was declaring the acceptable year of the Lord and reinforcing the temple calendar, and declaring that he was in fact a Messiah. That is why he said to his mother at the wedding in Cana, "My time has not yet come," because it was still in the Jubilee year of 27 CE. That this was the purpose of the prophecy is revealed in the next chapter. It is beyond doubt that this referred to Messiah, as the text from Isaiah 40 verses 3-8 are quoted in the Gospels at Matthew 3:3, Mark 1:3, and Luke 3:4-6, and John 1:23, and 1 Peter 1:24. The text refers to the scattering and the gathering of the people. Verse 2, the tribute paid to Sennacherib in 701 BCE depleted Hezekiah's treasury. 2 Kings 18:14-16, much of which had been derived from Arabian trade. 2 Chronicles 32 verses 27-29. Chapter 39 verses 3-4. The intrigue with the Babylonians prompted the warning by God through Isaiah. The Babylonian system was to be the source of the undoing of Judah. See Daniel chapter 2, F027:2. 5 to 7, re 597 BCE, see 2 Kings 24, 10 to 17. Verse 8, for the postponement of punishment, see also 1 Kings 21, verses 27 to 29. Chapter 40, beginning in verse 1. Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that her warfare is ended, that her iniquity is pardoned, and that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. A voice cries, in the wilderness prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. A voice says, cry, and I said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades. When the breath of the Lord blows upon it, surely the people is grass. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Get you up on a high mountain, O Zion, herald of good tidings. Lift up your voice with strength, O Jerusalem. Herald of good tidings, lift it up. Fear not. Say to the cities of Judah, behold your God. Behold, the Lord God comes with might, and his arm rules for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him. He will feed his flock like a shepherd. He will gather the lambs in his arm. He will carry them in his bosom, and gently lead those that are with young. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and marked off the heavens with a span, enclosed the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Who has directed the Spirit of the Lord, or as his counselor has instructed him? Whom did he consult for his enlightenment, and who has taught him the path of justice, and taught him knowledge, and showed him the way of understanding? Behold, the nations are like a drop from a bucket, and are accounted as the dust on the scales. Behold, he takes up the isles like fine dust. Lebanon will not suffice for fuel, nor are its beasts enough for a burnt offering. All the nations are as nothing before him. They are accounted by him as less than nothing and emptiness. To whom then will you liken God, or what likeness compare with him? The idol, a workman casts it, and a goldsmith overlays it with gold, and casts for it silver chains. He who is impoverished chooses for an offering wood that will not rot. He seeks out a skillful craftsman to set up an image that will not move. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. Who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and spreads them like a tent to dwell in? Who brings princes to naught, and makes the rulers of the earth as nothing? Scarcely are they planted, scarcely sown, scarcely has their stem taken root in the earth, when he blows upon them and they wither, and the tempest carries them off like stubble. To whom then will you compare me, that I should be like him, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these. He who brings out their host by number, calling them all by name, by the greatness of his might, and because it is strong in power, not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is hid from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Book of the Consolation of Israel, considered to be from chapters 40 to 55 as a section, and no doubt the revisionists used that sequence for their theories. Intent of chapter 40 verses 1 to 11. Announcement of the coming of the Messiah. Messianic prophecy through Isaiah to Hezekiah, number 157d. There is no doubt that the reference is to Messiah and the church, which is the remnant of Zion and the subsequent gathering. Judah is without excuse concerning the prophecy and the Messiah. The actions had to take place from Jerusalem while the temple stood, and the remnant had to be planted there and then spread throughout the nations from there. The activities had to take place under the temple calendar and in the first year of the sacred calendar after the Jubilee. The Pharisees and their successors, the rabbis, could never have been left in control of the temple, as they would have destroyed the temple calendar, as we saw after 70 CE, and broken the prophecies. There is no other person in human history that could have qualified to do all these things in the right time frame. Christ had to commence his ministry in 28 CE in order to fulfill the sign of Isaiah as given to Hezekiah. He did that, as we know from the New Testament texts. He also had to keep the sign of Jonah as the sign of his ministry after he began his mission at the right time and fulfill the requirements of Isaiah. See the paper, The Sign of Jonah and the History of the Reconstruction of the Temple, number 013. If Christ was not the Messiah, then Judah is lost and without salvation. They do not keep the Sabbaths and the Jubilees, and so could never qualify under the conditions of Isaiah to have the Messiah at any time after 28 CE. They were in captivity by the next Jubilee in 77 CE, and never again have been obedient enough to keep the temple calendar. The vineyards of the Lord of hosts is the whole house of Israel, and Judah is his special plant from Isaiah 5:7. The text of Isaiah concerns the Messiah and the place he had in Judah. The Gentiles are grafted into Israel, which is now a spiritual edifice, not a physical one. The background scene is the council of heaven of the Elohim, from which the voice of verses 3 and 6 is sent. 40 verses 1 to 2, comfort. The text refers to the comfort and peace extended from Jerusalem to Israel and the world. This peace is to come with the rule of the Messiah. See also 51 verse 9, 52 verse 1, 57 verse 14. My people, your God. Repetition of the covenant phrase, Exodus 19, 4-6 and Jeremiah 11:5. See number 152. Her warfare refers to her time of service in the exile and dispersion. Double refers to the blessings following her punishment for sin, following on from the principle in the law of God, Exodus 22, 7-8. God is also subject to the law as it flows from his nature. 40 verses 3-5, quoted in Luke 3, 4-6. See also Matthew 3:3, Mark 1:3 and John 1:23. The way of the Lord is common in this section of Isaiah, 42:16, 43:16 and 19, 48 verse 17, 49 verse 11, 51 verse 10. The text refers to the Messiah who comes to restore God's people, 35 verses 1-10. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed at the return of the Messiah, Ezekiel 1:28, 10 verses 18-19 and 43 verses 1-5. 40 verses 6-8. An Elohim of the council, as herald of God, declares that the word of God will stand forever and is immutable. 9 verse 8, 55 verses 8-11. Unlike all living things, which is quoted in 1 Peter 1, 24-25. Verse 6b, see 51:12 and the note. 40 verse 7, breath as the wind of judgment, Jeremiah 4 verse 11. 40 verses 9 to 11. The Messianic Advent with Messiah as the arm of God and the Elohim of Israel of Psalm 45, 6 to 7. His reward is with him and his recompense before him. Verse 10. He will feed his flock and gently lead those that are with young. See Ezekiel chapter 34, F0269. See also Acts 10:36, Romans 10:15, Revelation 22 verse 7. Jerusalem. Jerusalem used for Judah over 30 times in this section from chapters 40 to 55. Arm. Symbol of the power of God used of Messiah as captain of the army of the Lord. See 33 verse 2, 48 verse 14, 51 verse 5 and 9, 52 verse 10, 53 verse 1. See also Joshua 5 verses 14 and 15, F066. 40 verses 12 to 31, Creator of the universe. Verse 12, waters, seas, heavens and earth, the world's three environments or divisions. 40 verses 13 to 14, God is the source of all knowledge and wisdom. Proverbs 8, 22 to 31, Job 38 verse 2 to 39 verse 30. 40 verses 15 to 17, before him all nations are as nothing and must pay him homage. 40 verses 18 to 20, idols cannot and must not be compared with him. See 42 verse 17, 45 verses 16 to 20, Jeremiah 10 verses 1 to 16. 40 verse 21 to 24. God the Creator is also Lord of the history and progression of the earth. 44 verses 24 to 28, 51 verse 9 to 10. Circle, tent, the vault of heaven. Proverbs 8:27, Job 22:14. 40 verses 25 to 27. God as Creator is incomparable and omniscient. Created. Job 38:4 to 7, Genesis 1:1. Used here in verse 28. 41 verse 20, 42 verse 5, 43 verse 7 and 15, 45 verses 7, 8, 12, 18, 54 verse 16. Verse 26, host of heaven. 3 verse 1. 40 verses 28 to 31. God alone is immortal. 1 Timothy 6:16. He is omnipotent and omniscient and is concerned for man and his plan of salvation. Number 001a. Verse 31. Wait in the hope and confidence that God will not desert his people. See also 49 verse 23, Psalms 25 verse 3, 33 verse 20. See also number 001. Chapter 41 verse 1. Listen to me in silence, O coastlands. Let the people renew their strength. Let them approach, then let them speak. Let us together draw near for judgment. Who stirred up one from the east, whom victory meets at every step? He gives up nations before him, so that he tramples kings underfoot. He makes them like dust with his sword, like driven stubble with his bow. He pursues them and passes on safely. By paths his feet have not trod. Who has performed and done this, calling the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, the first, and with the last I am he. The coastlands have seen and are afraid. The ends of the earth tremble. They have drawn near and come. Every one helps his neighbour and says to his brother, take courage. The craftsman encourages the goldsmith, and he who smooths with the hammer, him who strikes the anvil, saying of the soldering, it is good, and they fasten it with nails so that it cannot be moved. But you, Israel, my servant Jacob, whom I have chosen, the offspring of Abraham, my friend, you whom I took from the ends of the earth and called from its farthest corners, saying to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and not cast you off. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. Behold, all who are incensed against you shall be put to shame and confounded. Those who strive against you shall be as nothing and shall perish. You shall seek those who contend with you, but you shall not find them. Those who war against you, you shall be as nothing. For I, the Lord your God, hold your right hand. It is I who say to you, fear not, I will help you. Fear not, you worm Jacob. You men of Israel, I will help you, saith the Lord. Your Redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I will make of you a threshing sledge, new, sharp, and having teeth. You shall thresh the mountains and crush them, and shall make the hills like chaff. You shall winnow them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the tempest shall scatter them. And you shall rejoice in the Lord, in the Holy One of Israel, you shall glory. When the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue is parched with thirst, I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will open rivers on the bare heights and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water. I will put in the wilderness the cedar, the acacia, the myrtle, and the olive, and I will set in the desert the cypress, the plane, the pine together, that men may seek and know, may consider and understand together, that the hand of the Lord has done this. The Holy One of Israel has created it. Set forth your case, saith the Lord. Bring your proofs, says the King of Jacob. Let them bring them and tell us what is to happen. Tell us the former things, what they are, that we may consider them, that we may know their outcome, or declare to us the things to come. Tell us what is to come hereafter, that we may know that you are gods. Do good, or do harm, that we may be dismayed and terrified. Behold, you are nothing, and your work is naught. An abomination is he who chooses you. I stirred up one from the north, and he has come from the rising of the sun, and he shall call on my name. He shall trample on rulers as on mortar, as the potter treads clay. Who declared it from the beginning, that we might know, and before time, that we might say, he is right. There was none who declared it, none who proclaimed, none who heard your words. I first have declared it to Zion, and I gave to Jerusalem a herald of good tidings. But when I look, there is no one. Among these there is no counselor, who, when I ask, gives an answer. Behold, they are all a delusion. Their works are nothing, their molten images are empty wind. Intent of chapters 41 to 42, 41 verse 1 to 42 verse 4 concerns the trial of the nations. The intent of chapter 41 verse 1. The background scene is the celestial court of the Elohim, where the nations stand trial. See chapters 41 to 46 and 48. Revisionists attempt to assert that the references to the victorious figure from the east refer to Cyrus. However, that east is the direction that Messiah enters Jerusalem and the temple. It is Messiah that acts in the direction of God, and it is God that determines the generations from the beginning. See Ezekiel 43 verses 1 to 2 and 44 verse 2, F02611. The judgment extends to the islands and the nations associated with them, and the nations generally. 40 verse 14, 42 verse 4, 49 verse 1, 51 verse 5. 41 verses 2 to 4, one from the east, that is Messiah. It is not Cyrus, as claimed by revisionists. See the OARSV note. God did indeed call and name Cyrus to do his work, but this text is not concerning him. Victory, the Hebrew term, implies God's approval. First, last. 43 verse 10, 44 verse 6. Alpha and Omega. See Revelation 1, 8 and 11. 21 verse 6, 22 verse 13. See FO 665. See numbers 229. 41 verses 5 to 7. The nations are as powerless as their gods. 40 verses 19 to 22. 41 verses 8 to 10. Israel, my servant. Jeremiah 30 verse 10, 46 verses 27 to 28. Punished for its faithlessness, Israel is to be restored. 44 verses 1 to 5, 45 verse 4, 48 verse 10. There is a different emphasis on servant in the servant song. 42 verse 1. 41 verses 11 to 13. The nations are judged. God defends Israel against their adversaries, who are then taken into Israel as the body of the Messiah. 41 verses 14 to 16. Israel, as a servant under the Holy One of Israel, will thresh the mountains or nations, and they will become one with them. Redeemer. The Hebrew term elsewhere may refer to the blood avenger, Numbers 35:19. See the OARSV note. Here it refers to Messiah. He was the Redeemer of Israel, 43:14, 44:6, and 47:4. Purpose of the creation and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, number 160. Verse 14. Now the argument that says that anyone less than God being sacrificed is not good enough strikes at the very power and omnipotence of God. Fear not, you worm Jacob. God can determine by what means he will accept humanity, and only God can determine that fact. If God wanted mankind to be redeemed by anything, that object would be adequate. 41:17 to 20. Classed as a rhapsody on God as Lord of nature. 55:13, Ezekiel 47:12. See also the OARSV note. Holy One, verse 16, 1 verse 4 and 40 verse 25. 41 verses 21 to 24. The pagan nations are summoned and challenged to prove the validity of their claims as to the power of their gods. Former things, 46 verse 9, of the historical past to the early phases of the creation or the phases yet to come. The nations have no defence and no power over those aspects. Here God says that all these aspects and systems have no value and no power to control events and do not exist. 43 verses 8 to 13. 41 verses 25 to 29. The second judgment against the nations, compare verses 11 to 13. From the north, the rising of the sun. The first phase refers to the Assyrians, 1431, and Babylonia, Jeremiah 6:22. These empires spread out into the last days. You see Daniel chapters 2 and 12, F0272, F02712, and F02713. Verse 29, compare verse 24 and 40, verses 18 to 20. Chapter 42, beginning in verse 1. Behold my servant whom I uphold, my chosen in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the nations. He will not cry or lift up his voice or make it heard in the street. A bruised reed he will not break, and a dimly burning wick he will not quench. He will faithfully bring forth justice. He will not fail or be discouraged till he has established justice in the earth, and the coastlands wait for his law. Thus says God the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread forth the earth and what comes from it, who gives breath to the people upon it and spirit to those who walk in it. I am the Lord, I have called you in righteousness. I have taken you by the hand and kept you. I have given you as a covenant to the people, a light to the nations, to open the eyes that are blind, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, from the prison, those who sit in darkness. I am the Lord. This is my name, my glory. I give no other, nor my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things have come to pass, and new things I now declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the end of the earth. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the coastlands and their inhabitants. Let the desert and its cities lift up their voice. the villages that Kedar inhabits. Let the inhabitants of Selah sing for joy. Let them shout from the top of the mountains. Let them give glory to the Lord and declare his praise in the coastlands. The Lord goes forth like a mighty man. Like a man of war, he stirs up his fury. He cries out, he shouts aloud. He shows himself mighty against his foes. For a long time I've held my peace. I've kept still and restrained myself. Now I will cry out like a woman in travail. I will gasp and pant. I will lay waste mountains and hills and dry up all their herbage. I will turn the rivers into islands and dry up the pools. And I will lead the blind in a way that they know not. In paths that they have not known, I will guide them. I will turn the darkness before them into light, the rough places into level ground. These are the things I will do, and I will not forsake them. They shall be turned back and utterly put to shame, who trust in graven images, who say to molten images, you are our gods. Hear, you deaf, and look, you blind, that you may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger whom I sent? Who is blind as my dedicated one, or blind as the servant of the Lord? He sees many things, but does not observe them. His ears are open, but he does not hear. The Lord was pleased, for his righteousness' sake, to magnify his law and make it glorious. But this is a people, robbed and plundered. They are all of them trapped in holes and hidden in prisons. They have become a prey with none to rescue, a spoil with none to say. Restore. Who among you will give ear to this? Will attend and listen for the time to come? Who gave up Jacob to the spoiler and Israel to the robber? Was it not the Lord against whom we have sinned? In whose ways they would not walk, and whose law they would not obey? So he poured upon them the heat of his anger and the might of battle. It set him on fire round about, but he did not understand. It burned him, but he did not take it to heart. Intent of chapter 42 verses 1 to 4, the first servant song. 49 verses 1 to 6, 50 verses 4 to 11, 52 verses 13 to 53 verse 12. This text refers to the Messiah. Many try to make it not refer to the Messiah, as they wish to deny the Christ and place it to someone into the future. The mission of the servant. Israel is the nation as God's chosen, under the Messiah whom the one true God Eloah chose and gave Israel to him as his inheritance. In Deuteronomy 32 verses 8 to 9, Psalm 45 verses 6 to 7, Hebrews 1 verses 8 to 9. He will, with peace and patience, faithfully bring forth justice to the world. Verse 3 to 4a. He will bring the law, chapter 1 verse 10, and restore justice, 5 verse 16, to the nations. Spirit, 11 verse 2. See Matthew 12, 18 to 21. 42, 5 to 17. God's glorious victory. 5. God is creator of all. From 40 verses 21 to 22. He is the source of all life. Genesis 2:7. Acts 17, 24 to 25. 42 verses 6 to 9. God has given the Messiah as a gift and covenant to mankind, as a light to the nations, to open the eyes that are blind and let the oppressed go free. See 60 verses 1 to 3, Luke chapter 2 verses 30 to 32, Acts 13 verse 47 and 26 verse 23. Verse 8, Lord, Jehovah of hosts is the one true God. 41, 23 to 24, Deuteronomy 4, 23 to 24. 42, 10 to 13, Song of Victory. See Psalm 93, 96 and 149. F019 underline 4 and F019 underline 5 part 3. 11. Another text which is sometimes used to indicate that the church will live in the wilderness of Petra in the end days. See that covered in 194. Kedar, Jeremiah 49 verses 28 to 29, and Selah, Jeremiah 49:20. The remote places surrounding Israel, which are to be brought into the structure at the return of the Messiah. The entire world praises God. Exodus 15 verse 1 to 18. Judges 5 verses 2 to 5. 42 verses 14 to 17. God's intervention over history. Long time since the creation, verse 5, to redemption, verses 14 to 16. Verse 15, Jeremiah 4:23 to 28. Verse 16, blind, verses 6 to 7, and God led Israel safely through the wilderness, 41 verses 17 to 20. Exodus 13 verses 21 to 22. 42 verses 18 to 43 verse 7. Israel, the blind and deaf servant. 42:18 to 25. Israel's judgment. 42:19 to 21. Blindness to God's will and ways is Israel's greatest sin. 6:9 to 10. See also 1:10. Verse 21, the task of the elect is to magnify the law of God and teach it to the nations, but Israel and Judah failed continuously. They are about to be corrected for their sins over these last days. 42 verses 23 to 25, Israel was punished and dispersed and sent into the wilderness for 2,750 odd years because they would not obey the laws of God. God punished them for their sins, and He is about to purge their false teachers from among them. Those who teach that the law of God is done away are to be purged from the face of the earth. What follows is Bullinger's notes on chapters 39 to 42.